besties, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Stels. If you're new here, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for tuning in today. Oh, it's been a minute, right? So today we're going to talk about why I decided to move to Kitchener Waterloo. What were the things I saw about this particular place and made me say, "Oh, I want to come to Kitchener Waterloo." Was Kitchener Waterloo my first choice? Um, Let me start by breaking down when we before we got our PPR. So we already knew we were coming to Ontario because we got a provincial nomination from Ontario. But before that, while we were just in the pool for express entry, Ontario was not in our radar. Like where yes, I ticked all provinces when I was filling the express entry, that all provinces are in my interest. But trust me, Ontario was not, definitely not in my interest or in our interest, anyways. So we're looking at Alberta. We're looking at yeah, I think majorly we're looking at Alberta because cost of living there is cheaper. Investment in real estate is cheaper, and yeah, those were actually our concerns because you know uprooting your family and going somewhere, you want to be in a place whereby if you don't have a job immediately, the funds you're bringing in from Nigeria can sustain you for a while. You don't want to go to a place that is so expensive when you're uncertain that you're getting a good offer in that particular place. Except you have an offer from Nigeria, like you have a Canadian job offer from Nigeria, and you already know, okay, this is what we are working with, this is what the salary is going to look like. So you can now even and obviously if you have a job, you have if it's not a remote job, you have to actually go to the city where the job is. So you don't even have a choice when it comes to that, except it's a remote job. So like I said before our PPR, we were looking towards before our ITA, before we even got a nomination from Ontario, we were looking towards Alberta because we felt like we've watched a lot of YouTubers in Alberta. We watched uh in fact I can't start naming. I think Otilo Love Train we're also in Alberta. So and we already have friends and families in Alberta. So although in different cities, but that's actually our first choice. And then the almighty Ontario OIMP nomination came, and we were like, we were contemplating actually before we took it, before I accepted. That was after I knew about it because my friend was the one that made me even realize that I had a mail from, um, Ontario that I was nominated. I had no idea because my mailbox was full, and I had to go into my profile actually to see that I have a letter from there. So okay, back to the gist. So when we saw Ontario, like Ontario that was not even on our radar. What do we do? Where do we go? Where do we start from? We started strategizing on location. So we now decided to make inquiries. Started looking at indexes. Started browsing indexes in Canada, in Ontario, comparing cities in Ontario. We compared the housing, the cost of housing in different cities, compared the employment opportunities in different cities, compared the tax in different cities. You know, we looked at all of that, but it wasn't still giving. Like, when you already have your mindset fixed on a particular place and something else is taking you to another place, which is God actually. So I started making inquiries of friends I knew that were staying in Ontario. So I called some family friends, called some people that had lived, that had I've worked with, that relocated, that are in Ontario as well. I made some friends from the Nigerian group I was WhatsApp group I was, asking them those were already in Ontario, those were going to Ontario, you know, about cities and stories and asking, okay, that they should give me some gist now how the place they are in so I can actually look at it. Trust me, everybody will have something positive and negative to say about where they are. Like if you ask me now, as I'm in Kitchener Waterloo, ask me, tell me about Kitchener Waterloo. Do you advise I come in? I'll tell you the pros and I'll tell you the cons. It's still is this pros and cons. You can actually still get it online. So there's nothing like first-hand information because that's what I was actually seeking for, first-hand information from people who are in these cities. But that still did not help me because that did not still help me make an informed decision, right? So I was looking at bigger cities because I was looking for banking opportunities, and I was like, let me go to places that have like banking headquarters, so it will be easy for me to access employment into the banking industry. You know, like in Nigeria now, when you're applying to a bank, most times when you want to do the final, the employment comes from the head office, and when you want to do most of like maybe the final interview and everything is always done at the head office. So I was always thinking towards banking, banking, banking. Honestly, I wanted to continue my career in banking as soon as I landed Canada. So I was actually applying for banking jobs while I was still in Nigeria. So I was looking towards Toronto, looking towards Mississauga, looking towards yeah. The reason I was even looking towards Mississauga was because I felt like it was closer to Toronto than any other city I wanted. So I'm like, even if I had to commute every day to work, it won't be so much of a hassle, you know. So I wasn't looking towards Brampton because I did not even know any Nigerian that was in Brampton at that time. So Mississauga was like the next best thing, but my husband was not okay with Mississauga. Like he was like, cost of living there is high. We looked at the indexes again, and it wasn't adding up. We're like, okay, if you get an accommodation there, as soon as we land there, if you get an accommodation, how sustainable can we be able to pay up that accommodation before we get a good job? Like even if we get a job, like yes, but like a good job, right? So and even the people I was even making inquiries from Mississauga were not really giving me like concrete information, and I felt discouraged. I was like, okay, let's remove Mississauga out of the equation, right? So I had never heard of Kitchener Waterloo before. Trust me, when I was in those Canadian groups, a lot of people were talking about Ottawa, Mississauga, Toronto, London, Ontario. No one was talking about Kitchener Waterloo. So, but I think Kitchener Waterloo is popular amongst international students because a lot of people like to come to Conestoga or the University of Waterloo. Actually, Conestoga, a lot of Nigerians are in Conestoga College. So it's more popular. The city is more popular with students than with professionals that are looking to relocate. So uh, I started asking, okay, so people that we got PPR together at the same time, I started asking them, you know. And this, my friend, shout out to her. She told me she's going to Ottawa. I started making Ottawa inquiries. Like, I joined a Nigerian group for people in Ottawa. Started making inquiries. In fact, that was our next option. Like, we are going to Ottawa. Then I started getting discouraged with the whole bilingual thing that before you move to Ottawa, you need to learn French. That if you're not bilingual in Ottawa, it's going to be an hindrance to getting good jobs. I was like, I didn't learn French to get express entry, to get high score. It's not to get job. I'll not learn French. Hey God, it's not going to work. Then I learned that there are more government jobs in Ottawa than professional jobs. And I've never really been a government worker. I've always been like a corporate worker. So um, I felt discouraged about that. I spoke to my husband. He was like, he's not really down with the whole Ottawa thing too, you know. So, but I liked the community because when I joined the group of Nigerians in Ottawa, they were so welcoming, they were so friendly. I was even hearing just about how people will even come and pick you at the airport for no cost. Like once they just know you're coming, they'll just come and pick you from the airport. If you want to rent an apartment, they'll just tell you, okay, I'll help you source apartments. People were helping people to look for apartments. As in, the Nigerian group in Ottawa was very welcoming. Like they were so welcoming. I was already drawn. I was like, I started making friends. Now, if my husband had started making friends, but the whole bilingual thing and the whole job market was not just favorable because when I began to chat up people that actually moved to Ottawa like a couple of months before we joined the group, before we moved, how have you gotten job? No, I've not gotten job. How have you gotten job? No, I've not gotten job. Like, what is going on? How can someone stay like months like that without a job? How are you fending? How are you coping? Has your Nigerian savings depleted? Those are the things that are coming to my mind. And I was like, Omo, I don't think we can do this Ottawa thing. If French is a hindrance, you know. So we decided to scrap out Ottawa from our plans. And then my husband and I began researching as well, and we found no, he had actually told me about Kitchener before. We never wanted to come to Waterloo actually. It was accommodation that made us come to Waterloo. So he told me about Kitchener, and I was like, Kitchener, kitchen, big. I just felt like there's going to be one small remote um, village somewhere, or one very um, suburban place. I don't even know how to describe it, but I was just looking at it in a different light. I was like, this is not city. I want, like, when I travel out and take pictures, people know that I've actually traveled out. You know, that kind of mentality. So I told her about kitchen. He was like, no, 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 it's not like that. So he told me that I should go and browse and make inquiries on Kitchener. That he learned that it's more like an IT hub. It's an upcoming IT hub, that Google is here, Google head office is here. A lot of things, IT offices are in Kitchener, and I'm like, okay, let's check. So I went on YouTube and I searched Kitchener, and I really did liked what I saw in Kitchener. And I looked at the environment, the job market, there are a lot of IT. I'm like, well, me, I'm not IT. My husband is slightly IT, but he's more of a business minded person. So I was like, okay, maybe that one will benefit him. Like, if he wants to really focus on the IT thing, it can actually help him. But I feel like I still also get a banking job here as well. So we decided to focus on Kitchener based on that. So I went on YouTube and I went to search for Nigerians living in Kitchener, and I found Betsy. So I watched all her videos. I was just looking around the environment, the places she went to, um, just watching her life journey there. And I felt like, oh, I felt it was relatable, because I felt like, oh, I can see myself doing this. I can see myself being here. I can see myself living here. So that's why I feel YouTube has actually helped people a lot, because it gives you an idea. You're not just entering into a city blind. Like, you're not just entering into a city without even knowing what to look out for or something. Like, I met somebody about 2 weeks ago. One of my subscribers about 2 weeks ago, and the way she thanked me, like, Justina, you're just, I don't know, you're a darling. She said some things to me that I felt very honored. Like, I don't know, I just felt proud of myself, because she was like, she's a student, she's an international student. So she told me that we met at, was it Fresh School? We met at one of these mats. I think it was Fresh School or No Frills. No, sorry, Fresh School. So she told me that when she was watching all my videos about going to Value Village, about thrift shopping for winter and all of that, buying bulk tomatoes and all of that, she said she has never commented on my videos before, but she has always liked each and every of my videos. Like, she felt like she was already living in Canada before she moved to Canada. In fact, she said even knowing how to use the bus, how to navigate the traffic and all of that, she learned them from my channel. So that was how I felt when I watched Betsy. So she said a lot of finance things. She has even had opened a TFSC account. In fact, she has done a lot of things that mere landing. She took her flu shots and everything. That mere landing in Canada, she had more information than some people that were already students here that landed before her. That when she's dishing out some of these tips, like, some of them did not even know where Value Village was to buy some thrift things. Some of them did not even have idea of where to how to prepare for winter and all of that. I'm like, nah, the work we they do now. So I felt a little bit proud of myself, So not a little bit, a lot. Don't let me be modest. So that was how I felt watching Betsy, and I just, you know, found myself relating to that content and the environment. So Kitchener was more like where we wanted to go. So we started looking for Nigerian groups, um, uh, Nigerians living in Kitchener group, and I started making inquiries and asking. And someone told me that there's a group called NIRW, that's NIRW, Nigerians living in the region of Waterloo. So I was like, why is it called the region of Waterloo when we are going to Kitchener? And they were like, it's like they're twin cities. So I said, okay, no problem. So we joined the group, and it wasn't a bad group actually. They were posting job opportunities. They were posting if you're going for job fairs, health fairs, a lot of things they were posting in that group. But my mind was still in that Ottawa group, because those guys were just. I've never been in a group like that before. I'm still in that group, oh guys. I'm still in that group. That group is just, I don't know. I've made some cool friends there that I'm sure some people still think that I'm actually a Waterloo, because the way I chat and respond to their gist and all of that. So That group is very bubbly, I tell you. So back to the gist. So I joined the my husband and I joined the Nigerian Living in region of Waterloo group, and it was very nice. Got to meet, not meet actually, we got to see different vacancies when it comes to apartments, and we're looking for something within our budget. So we found a basement advert there. Found a basement. So just like divinely orchestrated because we're supposed to come in February. I think yeah, we're supposed. Our plan was not to come in February actually, but because we wanted to run before the elections, my mom said, oh yeah, also, I don't want to hear that they've done an election and they've changed policies on relocation. I beg, move." So the plan was to run before the election. My mom. So the plan was actually to run before the election, and that was actually what we did. So we started looking for an apartment that would the start date would coincide from when we're about to enter. And when we found the apartment, we're kind of double-minded because a lot of shared facilities in the apartment, kitchen, laundry, and a place where you don't know the person you're going to. I was very, very, very skeptical, but I prayed about it and I had peace of mind, especially when I now spoke with the people that we're supposed to move in with. Friendly, nice. They didn't sound like Wahala people, their family composition too was very great. I was like, oh, God has done it. And even when we now shared that we're even attending the same church, perfect. So, as a Redeemer girl now, when you see your fellow Redeemer, you feel at home, right? So, it was just divinely orchestrated, I tell you. So we reached out, but before we could make payments, actually, we had to ask someone to come and look at the apartment because we've heard of so many scams. And my husband and I we had to be very careful because at this time you cannot even lose any amount, no matter how little it is, when you're trying to relocate. So we had a friend, um, shout out great, my friend's younger brother who is actually a student in Conestoga, and he came to the apartment to help us check it out, looked at it, and he was like, "They are wonderful people, and it's a wonderful apartment." And we moved in, and we made payments. So we made payments for that. We're so lucky because moving into an apartment in Canada can be very, very stressful. Sorry, getting an apartment can be very stressful because a lot of landlords request you to pay like 6 months. Some request you to bring an arm and a leg, by bringing, they know obviously you don't have a credit score. So they will start asking you to get guarantors. We did not go through any of that phase. So that was how we got our basement. So because we got the basement, I didn't really check the address. When I saw the address and I put it on Google Map, it still did not ring a bell that we were going to Waterloo. So in my mind, I was still saying that we were going to Kitchener, Kitchener, Kitchener. Until I started having a conversation with the person we were moving into, and they're like, "Oh, it's Waterloo, it's not Kitchener." I was like, "Oh, which one is Waterloo again?" And they were like, Waterloo, they are twin cities. It's not far off from Kitchener. I said, okay. Anyways, we've already paid, so there's nothing we can do about it. That was how I found myself in Waterloo. It wasn't by design. We actually wanted to be in Kitchener, but accommodation made us to come to Waterloo. And when we got here, I got a job in less than 2 weeks. I got another job. Then, it was just life was just happening as we were here, because initially I even planned that when we come here and stay for a while, we'll move to Kitchener. But a lot of things were just happening. Life was just happening. We got a good place where my son could stay as a home daycare. And we found a lot of people around us that were just great people. So what's the point of moving, right? And we now finally moved into a different apartment that was divinely orchestrated again. So yeah, it was just that. I didn't come here by choice. I came here. I wanted to come to Kitchener by choice. Waterloo was coincidence. Like Waterloo was coincidence. And do I regret it? No, I don't regret it. You know, if I was very specific in the house that we were looking for, we would have definitely still have moved to Kitchener because, like, look at my church is in Kitchener. So imagine moving all the way to Kitchener for church and everything. And I realized that a lot of things happen in Kitchener than Waterloo. Even during the summer, a lot of activities they all happen in Kitchener. So if I'm recommending any place to anyone, I would recommend Kitchener than Waterloo. Waterloo is very much reserved. Like it's calmer. there's nothing really much going on here. A lot of people work in Kitchener and reside in Waterloo too. But do I work here at Waterloo? So it's like a place where you just want to retire. There's I've not really heard of theft here. I've not heard of burglary here. I've not heard of package theft here, car theft, or any of those things in Waterloo. I haven't heard of it. So if you're that kind of person, and there are Nigerians here as well. So that was another thing I was looking at, like, are there Nigerians living in this place? When we had the New Yam Festival last year, if you see the turnout, like, I never knew that Nigerians were this much in this environment. Okay, so guys, if you want to know like the cost breakdown of how much I spend or how much it costs me to live in this city, I've already done a video on that, and it's in my channel. So just go. I'll put the link in the description, but you can also still go down and check the video if you want to know how much I spend living in this city. But for all those asking me why did you choose to come to Kitchener Waterloo, this is the reason. Kitchener was by choice, yes, but Waterloo was not by choice. It was just by design. It happened. And that is how I moved to Kitchener Waterloo, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in with me, and remain blessed. Have a wonderful Sunday. Bye bye.